this chapter struck me as being particularly important over the past year and a half.
Okay.
Because we have retained contact, but like this,
Yeah.
online, and I have so missed physical hugging. Just really being able to pat someone on the back or hug someone. And I found that when I was doing the theater group that I've been working with, and we were all vaccinated and we agreed to be a pod and not eat out or expose ourselves to other people that weren't in our pod.
Right.
And we got to hug and we got to touch each other on the back as we were talking to one another. I had missed that so much and had not even recognized the difference that I felt in communication between actually being able to be in a physical presence with a person and the amount of communication that goes on that isn't verbal or even visual. It's actually body.
It's touch.
You know, so yeah, so the last 6 weeks while I've been doing this, and now that's finished, but it was amazing and eye-opening that how much of my personal communication has to do with seeing another's body language, not just head up, the whole thing, you know.
Right.
So this chapter made a lot of sense to me, and I probably took a lot longer reading it than I normally would because I wanted to go into that in depth.
Yes. And Suleiman, just for your information, many, many people in the United States share that that missing of being in person with people because of COVID, and because we have things like Zoom. All of us are doing much more online and much less in person. So we're not seeing nearly as many people as we were used to seeing. And I know that Karen shares the same feeling. And I'm curious, and I'll come to you, Karen, and ask you to share. Why don't you do that now? And then I'll ask Suleiman, what his experience has been, if the pandemic has changed your social experience or not. Perhaps not. I don't know. So, Karen, go ahead and.
Well, I am more assessing that now because I did give myself permission to hug, mainly because I had to weigh what hugging was and getting COVID, essentially. And I decided, well, I just wouldn't stick my hands in my mouth after I hugged. But someone, and I do go to Unity Center of Peace, and I've been going regularly. It is a group. Everyone wears a mask. But one of the members asked me if I'd like a hug, and I said, oh, I'm not doing that yet. And then I watched her hug others, and I said, wait a minute, does that offer still stand? Because I realized I needed it. My person needed that hug at that time now. And
right.
it made the difference. And I decided from that, and I'm not advocating doing this because, we don't know about this risk-taking thing. But for me, I waited out that a hug was something I had to have. It just meant so much. And it not touching was not good for me at all.
Mhm.
And but I did have another story I wanted to tell later, maybe. It's about
Okay.
kindness.
About
Kindness
Okay.
and what happened because of that.
Okay. So, Suleiman, can I come back to you and tell us? I have not been to Mali, so I don't know. I assume that people, you know, shake hands, hug each other fairly often. That there's a fair amount of touch when you're greeting or talking with someone else, a friend or a family member. And I don't know if in your country you've been told not to do that as we have, or what? I don't know. So please share with us.
So thanks so much for the film. It is really interesting. Also, before to begin with it, Anne Marie is really too busy. She is with the meeting. This is the reason why she could not take part of today's meeting. So here in Mali, what you said, it is formally the case because of when in the same family or not, if we meet each other where we are, if we are Malian or if we come from the same village or not, and the situation or the manner of the being or the manner of the behavior between the people is really nice and wonderful. Now, I appreciate it if I look at the situation of USA or Europe countries or people, the manners of these people, and here how we live is really different. And in addition to that, also that here, no matter you are, you can be a black or not, you can be member of the family or not, you can be Malian or not, you can be African or not, you can be, I don't know, everywhere. Once in Mali, we take or we see you like you are a member of the family. And that is the wonderful things that we do here in Mali. It is the reason why I said that the kindness here in Mali, we grow up with it. And we take everyone as family members. Yeah, nowadays things have changed a little bit. This is the reason why we heard or we see many other things. For example, we can see this insecurity and many other things. But anyway, the solidarity and the kindness is the best way that we try to undertake and try to live with many other persons.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Abu, would you like to share on this subject?
Yes.
I don't, as I, I also haven't been to Senegal.
Yes.
So I don't know if, for instance, the pandemic, COVID, has changed your customs, your usual ways of greeting or being people outside your family or not. And, whether you are used to, touching people physically and, shaking their hands, hugging them, or whatever, when you do meet with someone. And if so, what have you realized about the importance of physical presence?
Yes, COVID has changed a lot in here. We used to go to see our relatives, but nowadays we have not the chance to do so because it is not everyone who want that. So we are trying to respect that And there are some people who have not this problem. You can go to see them and ask them how they are doing. And there are some people also, if you want to create them with your hand, it is okay. But others, they want to prefer, for example, to say assalamu alaikum and you can talk and here you go. But nowadays in here we see people are not respecting the COVID. They no longer wear their mask, even in the car or outside. They don't respect that because the government is not telling the truth about this. This is reason why people are no longer worried about this disease. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what you're saying really is that people needed to be in touch with each other as they usually are.
Yes.
And so, you know, and we feel that too. That, and there's a lot of people here that are not wearing masks or social distancing anymore because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it should. You know, it feels artificial and hard. So thank you. Suleiman, your hand is up.
Yeah, exactly. I want to add something what Abu said right now. It is actually the same case here in Mali. For example, what the greeting things. For example, here in our culture, everyone in the family or member of the family or not in the village or in the town, if you see something, the first thing is good morning or like this in Bamanaka, Aunu Sagoma, and we give the hands,
Right.
man
Yeah.
again man, woman again woman. Even
Right.
the COVID is here and we continues to do. And the government try to fight against this fact. But anyway, in our mentality, it does not. Why? Because of that is what we learn. That is what we know. That is what we want to do, and it is that what we are born. It is the reason why every day, bonjour, assalamu alaikum, good morning, in the family or out the family, it is the same case.
Yeah.
Because we think that COVID is not the truth. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Interesting. Okay. So, Karen, you had a story you wanted to share with us.
Well, it just had to do with kindness. When I'm at the grocery store, and I have a sense of organization sometime, but in this case, I like to help out the people who get the grocery carts by putting the large ones in one space and the small ones in another. But I always organize them when I think nobody's looking because I just want to do it and to help them out. But anyway, I started organizing them and I looked and there was this lady behind me. And she said, "Oh, that is so kind of you." And I said, "Well, I guess so. I just like to, make it easier for them to get the carts when they come out. And I know the guys that do that." Well, what happened was I started talking to this woman and we just connected. It was beautiful. And she said, "By the way, could I get your telephone number?" And so we exchanged telephone numbers, and she really is into trees and plants and their intelligence. So she had a new book title that she gave me, and which I've just ordered from the library, which I'd have to look on my text to get the name of it if you're interested.
Well,
I
I would be interested.
Yeah. I told her about the secret life of trees, but it just started a beautiful relationship and a connection. We stood probably in the parking lot and talked for 30 to 45 minutes. I just forgot everything else. It was a wonderful conversation, a great exchange. And I was thinking, it would be nice if we were open to talk to other people like that.
Oh.
You know, just to start up a conversation and to share.
Right. So her observation of you and her comment, which in a way was a judgment, but a positive judgment,
Yeah.
that, oh, you were being very kind. The fact that she noticed that is what allowed that contact to take off, to succeed, right?
And it turns
So,
out she also liked to do that too. So,
aha,
so she was
okay,
a kind person as well. If you
great.
so,
So a potential friend,
yeah,
really.
I would say so. It's very
Yeah.
interesting.
So
And
that's really about attention.
That's
We haven't talked
that's
about it.
wonderful, Karen. I'm so
Yes.
happy for you
oh, thank you, Lisa.
because I say things to people in line, and sometimes, sometimes it's okay, great, thank you, and other times it's mind your own business.
I know.
Wow.
So to find somebody that you can communicate with in that situation is very special.
Yes, absolutely.
Before the end of the conversation, we both decided that Food Lion was a spiritual place.
Well.
And everybody that came out, the guy that takes the carts in said, "Oh, I'm glad you two were meeting." You know, and he had all these wonderful things to say about the customers, about us, and you know, it just became sort of a party at Food Lion over the carts.
Right. That's wonderful. It's
It
a great
was.
story. Yes. Yes. Suleiman,
Yeah.
were you were you
No,
participating in the conversation?
and just I heard something that I didn't hear it, and then it is it was wonderful, and what he said is that I'm waiting for it.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, those kinds of meetings. It's nice to know that they're possible. And it's also interesting to think about how they come about. Because what it means is that you have come into contact with someone else who shares values with you. That's awesome.
It was.
That is really awesome. And I hadn't really thought about that before. That, in this process of peacemaking, maybe we're more likely to meet other peacemakers, which, is wonderful because we know when people get together and share values that they have more of an impact, they become more powerful. So, like I said, I hadn't really even thought about that before, but that's an important thing, to get to know other people who have the same values so that you're working together, because we're always more powerful in community than we are isolated. So somewhere in this book, I assume that we will get to discuss that. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. And that's another aspect of contact. It's not only physical, it is on all levels, like everything in our lives. Our lives are not categorized into, well, this part is physical and this part is emotional and this part is spiritual and this part is intellectual. That just isn't how we are or the world is. We're not compartmentalized usually. So we're not divided ideally. We're holistic. We're holograms. It's all of us that is a part of whatever we're a part of. And when we're not totally holistically involved or present in something, that comes across as something missing in our experience. It's, the fact that we take the time and we take the energy to focus and to be totally where we are with the people we're with, doing what we're doing. Again, it's a question of attention and focus. That's really important. And it affects, it changes the way we perceive, the way we experience what we're doing when we're in 100% present, 100%. That's much more satisfying than, when we're trying to do three things at once, which is just really kind of stressful. It's a way to oppose stress. Okay, Lisa, do you want to read aloud that quotation that you put into the chat? You're muted.
I mute automatically because of my puppy dogs.
Right, I do too.
On page 85 in the chapter on contact is a quote that I highlighted. Whether we are introverted or extroverted, an open contact is a richer and more promising way to approach our relationships. It is an attitude in which the other is seen as a window to a new world, a way for us to grow. And I said that I think this is the meeting of the psyche or souls that you, Karen, had in the Food Lion parking lot.
That you found somebody else who was a window.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes people make it their whole purpose in life to be walls or barriers and not windows. But ideally, when we are able to wholeheartedly be in touch with others, we are all windows to new awareness, to growth, to evolution, to, more oneness, which is where we're going. Whether you like it or not, that's what's happening over time. It's much more fun to be a part of it than it is to oppose it and to resist. Harima, welcome. Okay, so I'd like to move the conversation from contact into having a sense of belonging, which is the next chapter. Just think about that for a minute. How important it is to feel like we belong someplace, that we belong to somebody. We belong to some group of people. What does that mean to you, to belong someplace? Karen?
Well, to me, it's the essence of my beingness or who I am, even though I'm an individual person with my own personality, skills, and abilities, to be part of I still feel like it's necessary to be part of the whole, the people. I feel I'm nothing without another person. I just put it that way. I wouldn't do well on an island.
A little desert island that was all yours. That doesn't appeal to you.
No, it doesn't. It does not. I would want to share with others. I mean, what is there if you can't share with others? I have a little saying in my bedroom, and it's something my sister gave me, and it says, oh gosh, I forget exactly what it says, but it has to do with sharing and being a part of this world and who other people are, part of the universe and the connection that we all have.
Right. It's crucial. Just like kindness is crucial to our survival. Feeling as though we belong somewhere is that important. It's crucial for our survival. Now, in our country, in the United States, because we have such an, many of us have such an individualistic culture, most kids, a majority of kids, I think, children, feel attached in their family of origin when they're small. Not all. And that's a real personal problem when somebody doesn't feel securely attached as a small child. It's something that they will need to work on all their lives. It's something we can remedy, but it's hard, just like changing anything that we came to believe when we were under the age of 3 is, it's like that's where we learned what the world is. That's where we learned who we are. And it's really hard to change what we decided about what's real before we could speak.
Right. I didn't have any problems with before the age of, at a very young age, I was very family centric and had all my grandparents and all. But then just as I started school, we started moving every 2 to 3 years. So I always felt like an outsider for the longest time, because every time I thought I had established a place to be, we moved.
Mhm.
And then I had to start over.
And that was true. Yeah, that was true in my family too.
So it was, and then there was my family culture of, oh, we don't talk about how we are or what our life is or anything with anybody else. So I didn't fit in that part of my family culture, even in my family culture, because as my mother says, I was too much of an open book for her taste. It's like, I didn't know that I shouldn't tell people my dad lost his job. I didn't know that I shouldn't, that I shouldn't say, well, I can't go to the movies this week because we don't have enough money. I didn't know. And no matter how many times I was told, it wasn't a lesson that sunk in. I still don't know.
Right. Gotcha.
So, that goes back to the idea of being honest. Is like, yeah, as my mother said, I had a mouth that overflowed. So, you know, if somebody asked me what was wrong, I would tell them. And that has not been, I mean, other than in my family, that has not been a problem in my life. To share seemed to me to be the thing to do.
Yeah,
So
it generally is. But,
you know,
yeah, we can also tread on secrets that other people want to keep
right. And
for whatever reason.
you know, apparently, you know, my mother didn't want my grandparents to know that my dad had lost his job, which seemed to, I mean, okay, if you don't want it known, don't tell me. That's the
And they probably didn't
no,
tell you.
no. After that, I found out about things in a very roundabout way. Yes.
Right. So again, that's the way it goes in the United States, where people whose families have been American for 3 or 4 generations at least have learned to be very individualistic and not to be part of community more than we are part of nothing, you know, on our own. But that's not true every place, I think.
Good.
So I'm looking here to Suleiman and Aisha and Karima, who are to confirm or deny that impression that I have, that in many other places, the family is much more important than the individual. Anybody want to address that? Of a sense of belonging. The fact that Americans are very individualistic means that we have a hard time when, after we've grown up, understanding how to become part of community. It takes us a long time to learn that it's necessary. And it takes us a long time to figure out where we can feel like we belong. And it's kind of hard sometimes to stick where we have felt we belong, because as a nation, we do move around a lot. That's certainly been true in my life personally. I've lived in about 15 different places in my life, which, you know, is, I think, relatively typical for an American. I've been semi-nomadic. And so, I'm willing to move and to give up belonging more easily than is really good for me. I know now. And so a lot of my personal struggles are about, you know, finding a new place where I really feel like I belong, because it's hard to find where you really belong when you've left behind the usual, all the previous places where you've begun to create family, a sense of family. And, you know, I did it again last year when I started Living Peace Now. And that meant I had to give up my responsibilities in the community that I thought I had found belonging in. And, you know, so now I'm back again trying to find my tribe, trying to find,
Mhm.
trying to, get back into a sense of connection. It's necessary. It's hard to survive when you don't have that connection and belonging. And we start experiencing that when we're about age 7 and 8,
Mhm.
which is when we kind of begin leaving the total protection of the family and we go to school and need to feel like we belong somewhere there and don't necessarily find that. And part of it is, what do we have to give up to feel like we belong? It involves giving up as well as getting, just like life. It's always about giving and receiving. And which comes first? It needs to be an open circuit. So when we find a place where we think we might like to belong, we need to give. We need to get involved and start looking at how can we be helpful. And, people who haven't, most of the rest of my family stayed where my family has been since they came to the US in the 1800s, late 1800s. So they've been in the same place for 100 years or more. And so they haven't had to figure out how to get back into a sense of belonging. They just belong.
I have a lot of family like that
Yeah.
too, in 2 different locations in Tennessee, and they've been there since the 1600s.
My gosh.
So, when I go and I talk to my second or third cousins who have grown up in the same place and have lived in the same place, and they've gone to the same colleges, they do the same thing, and I'm the odd one out because my little piece of the family, we moved a lot.
Right.
And so when I haven't been to a reunion in 20 years, but the last time I went to a reunion, which is every spring for one family and every fall for another family, all the people come back and we have a big picnic. And the last time I was there, I felt so out of place. It was very strange.
Yeah.
Because
And I
I
bet
had
it
always
was
felt in place.
And I bet it was disappointing.
Yeah, it was sad and strange because I really don't have all that much other than a family name attached to these people any longer. So that's sad.
And it's a need that we all have
Mhm.
to belong somewhere. So when we have gotten separated from the somewhere, it's something that we seek. We put energy into trying to find it again somehow.
Right. And I think that is why after we had lived in Durham for 20 years and then we moved away for 10, and then we came back to Durham because this is where we had found a church family and groups of people that we did things with. And although a lot of them have moved on and gone, there's still a touchstone that we can go back and
Right.
and find. And while we're adding new groups all the time that we're connected to, it's nice to have that old
Yes.
connection as well.
Right. Suleiman, you have your hand up.
Exactly. My connection is a little bit weird, but this is the reason why I have a difficulty to take the part. So, belongs about someone, somewhere, or some family. That is really the wonderful things. And in our country, in our culture, in Dugonland, precisely Mali Dugonland, since 12 or 12th century to now, people are living in the same families, in the same places. Yes, there are some changes. Even if you try to come back to to go abroad, some things like that, to the town, Bamako or somewhere, or to the Europe, anyway, you have to build one house or one bedroom in your village. It is in our culture. Even me, I'm here in Bamako. I'm with children and like that, and I'm studying here. But my father, before dying, said that okay, you have to build one room here because you belongs on one group of the members, on one group of the families, and these families is here in your village, and
Right.
this is the reason why the belongs of the place or of the family is a culture in our is a culture in Dogon country. It is compulsory for everyone who are come from in our village or in Dogon country. You have to build or one bedroom to see or to show to the other person or to your children that you come from somewhere or you belong to somewhere. And
Interesting.
it is really wonderful and I appreciate it. And it is that I know that anyway you have to you can keep your story, you can keep the old things, and it can help you to know and to it help you also to survive with the to the other people with connection, with kindness, and with everything also. Yeah.
Right. So you can vouch, you can be witness to the fact that it is a deep need to feel connected,
Yeah.
and because it feels good, right?
Really.
Now, what happens is that things keep changing. That's life. Once you stop changing, you're not alive anymore. And as things change, you are going to make more friends outside of your village and outside of your family. And then, you know, it will be interesting to see how your culture accepts that, how your culture adapts, how your culture keeps the, you know, the sense of you are one of the family no matter what, no matter where you are. It will be interesting. I hope that that can continue. And I'm sure there are ways that it can, but it will be a challenge over the years and over the generations. As it is for, you know, for us. It just, you know, these things, change keeps happening, and how we as humans and as cultural groups adapt to the changes is really important for what kind of a world we are creating.
Yeah.
So being aware that, okay, everybody needs to feel a sense of belonging is something that if we are trying to be kind to others, it's something that we will realize about people. And there are some people who have not found a sense of belonging, and they're sometimes really hard to include because they're the people, like the people in everybody's family, that nobody really likes. They, they're inconvenient. Uh, they don't have the skills to be a really good group member. And that's, to me, is, as far as kindness is concerned, that is a big issue. For me personally, it has been. It's hard to always be kind, even when you know what people need, because they don't necessarily accept it, or they aren't willing to make the changes that would make it easier for others to accept them. There's always challenge. That's where prayer comes in, I think. We know that, okay, I don't know how to make happen what I know would be really helpful for this person. All I can do is pray, is to know what I'd like, and to know that God, the universe, Allah, doesn't matter what we call that power, that order that's bigger than us, but there is one, and it's beneficial. And, we can hold a vision of the person that we're finding it hard to help being happy and feeling connected, because at some level we all are. We all we're all part of the human family. We're part of one universe. So there is a level of awareness where it doesn't really matter whether we like somebody or not. They're a human being, they're one with us. We just include them. But it's a higher level of awareness that then I'm often at. I sometimes see, okay, I need to change the way I'm thinking, the way I'm perceiving. And I need to go to a more loving, more accepting place. And I work on that. I expect that's fairly universal, that everybody has to do that sometimes. And the better job we do of finding a place where we can be kind and accepting and welcoming and warm to other people, that actually comes back and helps us. So with that, we have definitely been discussing for an hour, and I'm going to turn off the recording. This was the metaphysical discussion about kindness on Living Peace Now on Friday, October 29th, 2021. And we talked about contact, both physical and emotional and spiritual and intellectual, and finding a sense of belonging as aspects of universal human need, and therefore opportunities for us all to be kind to others. Thank you.